All right. So you were talking about the ultra terrestrials, like, I mean, so again, we were talking about the interdimensional thing.
Yeah.
What do you like? Do you think? Let me ask you this: like, I've seen stuff on the History Channel and Discovery Channel about paranormal activity, and it seems that even ghosts and some spirits still have to obey to laws of gravity, because you know how like there's video footage of paranormal activity of ghosts walking down a street or walking through a house. How is it there's some laws of gravity to it? How do you feel? Like, have you thought about that before?
Yeah, I've had a lot of different experiences. It does seem like some of them do have to adhere to gravity, and I don't know if that would be like, I don't know, because I've had experiences where I've seen like a face floating and it was just a face, and it didn't have legs, so it wasn't walking. You know, I guess it just depends the type of spirit.
Hmm. And again, some it's strange because you have like a poltergeist. No matter where they go, just one location. Like a house could be haunted, and only the house is haunted. Versus
Right.
the poltergeist where the person is haunted.
Yeah. Yeah, it's strange. Like the house hauntings, it's more likely that the spirit's tied to the land, not necessarily the house, and that makes sense because the land is a living being, the house is not, and a human being is a living being, so these spirits can be attached to a living being, if that makes sense.
Right. Right. Yeah. Have you a haunting like a house or a building or just a plot of land where you felt there was definitely you seen something or heard something or at least felt something strongly?
Yeah, I have. I've had lots of different experiences.
Right. Right. Check this out. I went like a village outside of Berlin, a town like, and they had a concentration camp there called Sachsenhausen, and I was psyched. I went into it, and there was like areas like the medical area of the concentration. There was this little dungeon type room, and like basically thousands of people died in the room. Like a lot of Jewish people died there. Like soldiers were
Oh
captured and
yeah.
brought down, and I could feel it was almost like static electricity all over my body, where I could feel the aura there. I don't know the spirits in the room or the energy of all the spirits, but you could like going into the room, you could feel you know what had happened there.
Oh yeah. Some people are just more sensitive to be able to feel things like that too. I remember when I was in New York City. Gosh, I can't remember what year it was. It was after 9/11 anyway, but we were not trying to visit the ground zero. We were just lost in New York City, and so I happened to be walking up on it, but I didn't know I was. I just felt this heavy weight on my shoulders and my head, and I was just like, what is this feeling? You know, I was like, it's just an awful feeling. And then we kept walking, and after about a block, I saw that we were at ground zero. So I was like, oh, no wonder I felt that, but I've never felt that before. Something similar to that. I've had other experiences with spirits, but never that like heavy of a feeling before. But a lot of people died. It was pretty intense there. So,
Mm.
but yeah, I understand. I know what you mean.
Yeah, it's pretty strange. I've seen a lot of stuff online where people, they record like the apparition or the jinn, like we were talking about in the Middle East.
Mhm. No, I didn't know it was recorded. It didn't seem something like that. You should send it to me.
Right, right. I have to send you like, what's the biggest story? Do you have like a story or an event or not even a story or an event, but just a perspective that that's like stuck with you or most people haven't heard of dealing?
Perspective on aliens.
Yeah, yeah.
I have a lot of perspective about aliens. Because, like, okay, I think that all the stories about demons and angels are actually ETs.
Right.
I do. That's according to personal experience. Because, like, I actually heard an angel talking to me before. And there was some seriously, like, metaphysical stuff that happened at the same time. And I saw UFOs around the same time. So to me, it's all connected. Oh, and that was when I was being gang stalked as well. The gang stalking was around that time. It was almost like it was like a reaction to my communicating with angels or the Pleiadians or whatever they were.
Right, like they depict some angels. Like I've always thought like it's depicted of the ability of flight. Like whoever the people are, they have the ability to come and go from the sky.
Right.
Like not
I
necessarily
mean,
have. Right, right. Because in the ancient world, the only thing that mostly saw birds flying, and so the angels putting wings on them was just showing that they had the ability to come and go. But there's old paintings too. Have you ever seen those old paintings?
oh yeah, with the UFOs and the paintings, I've seen it.
Hmm.
It's depicted as if it's like a boat in the air.
Right, right.
I've seen ones that look like it looks like little comets with a person inside.
Uh, I'm listening. Go on.
But as far as like UFOs I've seen, they're just like little lights that will sit there and just look like a star. And if I look long enough at the stars, a couple of them will just shoot away and fly.
Yeah, because a UFO can mean unidentified flying object.
Right. It's basically a zero gravity machine. But if you're seeing a living being as a UFO, it's going to look similar, but there may be communication with the living being, and it'll seem like, a holy experience, depending on what type of living being it is. And as far as, like, I've studied, like, Ezekiel's wheel within a wheel and the Merkaba, which is basically the same thing.
The macabre. Now the macabre is like.
It's actually it's your spirit, the Merkaba.
Okay, okay, because I'm familiar with Kabbalah, and when they depict it, it's like a geometrical design, but it's supposed to be your soul or your spirit.
Mhm.
Okay. Now, do you feel there's a difference between the soul and the spirit?
I don't know yet. I don't have an answer on that one yet.
Because I heard some people say the soul is just your mind, but the spirit is like what carries your mind.
I guess that makes sense. Yeah, the Merkaba is like your vehicle. It's like your spiritual vehicle,
Hmm.
and your soul is, like you said, mind, but you can also say heart because the heart and the mind is the same.
Right. That's interesting.
Mhm. Yeah, and then even on like a physical level, even in science, like they're finding out all this stuff too. That there's um, memory cells in your heart tissue.
Yeah, 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 yeah. Like,
Yeah.
yeah, like people have muscle memory. Naturally and with specific styles, and the heart has out. Since in the book, it was a woman who was a prostitute, and she died, but she gave her heart and heart transplant to a different woman, and the woman who received the heart started picking up on the sexual habits of
Oh
of,
wow.
of the donor, and the difference in food. The food changed. It went from Mexican to Chinese.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, yeah, and
I
they
heard that somebody that received an organ from someone. I don't remember the details of the story, but all of a sudden they could speak a different language.
right.
Cool. And yeah, we have memory in our DNA. So I mean, it's not just our brain, and it's not just the heart. So I mean, yeah, that's pretty cool. And I believe we're going through DNA changes as a species. We're evolving right now.
Right.
That's like why the whole world is awakening suddenly, like remembering who we really are. We have to remember who we are so that we can evolve.
Mm.
I believe there's a liberation of the planet happening right now.
Mm. Right. Right. There's two like I think there's more information that
Oh yeah.
because of the internet, and then everybody's, very few people, I wouldn't say very few people, but more and more people media
Mhm.
and coming up with their own
Which is
conclusions.
mind control. Which is basically mind control. So they're basically just waking up and breaking off of mind control.
Yeah, I don't take anything I learned from the school. I don't take it, but I do my own research, and I found out that it's either not true or it's like a certain percentage of truth. Like there's way more to the story.
Oh yeah, there's way more. I had to go through a period of time of like, I want to call it deprogramming, but it was also like reprogramming my mind because I broke free from mind control. And that was after like over 10 years of not watching TV. So my programs, it was like, it had to do with my DNA as well. So I think that the programs are in our DNA, and as we evolve, that's just like busting loose, and we're learning the truth about everything, and it's all within. least.
Right, right. The DNA and consciousness are like one on one, and I think consciousness and through the DNA, there's a lot of information being released. Like, are you familiar with genetic memory?
Well, yeah, that's what I'm talking about.
Right, right, absolutely. You know, and then you got past and future connect to and get information, and it's almost like the Akashic records.
Yeah, when I went through that, I went through that process where I had to visit the Akashic records and everything, and it was really a trip because I got to go back to Atlantis one time, probably multiple times, but one time that I can really remember, and I had angelic beings with me that kind of guided me to go back and visit because I had to kind of face everything from the past, even past lives. I had to face past like memories that I had repressed from this life, and went through the whole process. And when I went there, it was like I felt like I was going home, and I was so excited. And
Right.
I dropped down. I was on a beach, right? And I dropped down onto in the sand, and I was just like hugging the ground. And when I stood up, I grabbed handfuls of sand and put it in my pocket. And the angel that was with me was laughing. I was like, "What are you laughing? Why are you laughing?" And he didn't say why, and when I woke up, I realized why. It was like as if I could take the sand with me back here, you know. So I mean, that was just kind of funny. And then I went through a past life regression, and the lady that was doing it went through that whole scenario where I had already gone to like Atlantis, and she said, "And you filled your pockets with sand," and I was like, "Yeah, I did. How do you know?" How did you know I did that? And so, yeah, she got to be there with me and see how that went. And I went through all my past lives, and most of them I was a shaman, which is why I was even able to go through that process, I believe. So I've had a really interesting life.
Right, right. Yeah, it's. As a person, like it makes its way up to the animal kingdom and is wild, and then it becomes the soul becomes a domestic pet for a few incarnations, and then it becomes a person.
Did you say dogs in a house? What do you mean?
Like a family dog.
I had like a reoccurring dream all of my life as a child of like dogs in a house. That's crazy you mentioned that.
Family dog.
That really like, yeah, okay. Well, in my reoccurring dream, it was like many dogs, and like I was walking up to my grandfather's house, and like I'd look inside, and it was full of dogs, and they all had red eyes, and then I'd wake up, and that was like a reoccurring dream I had all my life.
So how long?
Oh, I haven't had it in a long time, but I had it all the way until I was probably about 16 years old
Mm-hmm.
from childhood. So when you mentioned dogs in a house, that's like exactly what I thought of, and I was like, how do you know about my recurring dreams?
Right. I haven't had. That's interesting. Dogs in a house. What were the dogs doing?
Let's see, when I looked in, I could see like the outline of them was dark, and the whole room was dark, and then their skeletons began to glow, and then their eyes began to glow red, and they were all just looking at me.
Mm.
It was really scary, reoccurring dreams, but like, you know those dreams that feel real? They just feel real even though they seem surreal. That you know they're not real, but it just feels real. And that's what it felt like in those dreams. And I felt this feeling of foreboding as I walked up to the house, like something bad was going to happen, and I see the dog. I also had some other experiences, like when I was really, really little. I'm talking like 2, 3 years old. I used to see ETs in my room, and they'd just be watching me. And I would be watching cartoons, but the cartoons were on a wall. I didn't have a TV in my room. I was just watching cartoons on a wall. So now looking back at those memories, I do believe that it was part of some kind of metaphysical experience. Like, I believe the cartoons were being projected from my brain. I had a lot of weird experiences as a child. And what else? What else happened? Yeah, I remember everything, but that really stands out to my memory. I have memories like when I was little. I had memories that I shouldn't even be able to remember. Like, I remember being in the womb. I remember what it was like. I remember what I was thinking. I remember thinking, how long do I need to be in here? Why do I have to sit in here for so long? And I remember what it looked like the light coming through and the walls of the womb and shining through where you could see like the veins. I remember the pattern. So that's a weird memory. Way too early to be possible, right? But I do remember it.
That's strange.
Mhm.
How long have you been in Florida? Really?
Yeah, I was born like 30 minutes from here.
What do you think about the Bermuda Triangle?
It's an interesting story. I used to read about it, and I've seen it on in the 80s. I saw it on Unsolved Mysteries and stuff like that. What do I think about it? I think that I don't know. I used to think that there was some sort of experiment going on there, but it may just be like a place where there's a portal on the earth because I've learned about portals. So I know a little bit more about portals now.
Mm. I heard there's flying saucers.
Yeah, and I've read accounts of men who were in the military, and they'd be on a ship like Marines, I guess, or Navy, and they would watch UFOs go into the ocean as well, and they were told not to talk about it.
Mm.
I've even read recent accounts of that, too.
What's your favorite food?
My favorite food?
Yeah.
Probably anything spicy, like Mexican food.
Okay, because the reason I asked you that is you were saying you were, we were speaking at a different time, and you were saying you were part gypsy?
Yeah. Yep, I have Spanish gypsy and Irish mostly that I know of.
Right, that's interesting. That's really interesting. Because gypsies are involved with a lot of...
Yeah, I found that out later because, as far as my heritage goes, nobody in my family taught me anything or passed down anything from my gypsy side. I had to learn about it later.
Mm-hmm.
So we were just told that, great-grandfather, his name was James Madeira. He was a gypsy, and that was it. And the reason why, my grandmother told me the reason why nobody wants to talk about it is because it was shameful to be a gypsy.
Mm-hmm.
And so, yeah, so basically, they just didn't talk about it. So I had to learn later, and yeah, I found out that that's why. I mean, nobody in my family would tell me, anything about why I was having such spiritual experiences as a very young child. if I thought of something, it would happen. You know, and I
Mhm.
could speak telepathically very easily. I just had all these abilities that I didn't understand, and it made me feel like I couldn't fit in, and I was afraid to talk to people because I found out very quickly when I did that I couldn't find anyone that had the same experiences as me, and I was, very young, but I was very sensitive to getting those looks of what are you talking about, So I kept to myself a lot. I was a loner because of that. But later on in life, I find out, there's other people that have experiences like that as well. So I learned more about it, and that I'm not a freak, and I was just talented, you know.
Right.
But I thought I was some kind of evil witch or something because I had no explanation other than that for why those things were happening.
Right.
So now I can see it in more of a positive light as like the Creator blessed me, so I can use it for good. I just wish I had known and I had been taught from an early age so that I hadn't missed all that time that I could have been using my gifts for good instead of trying to hide it and stifle it, and not use it.
Right. That's interesting. You're one of the. I'm very thankful that I came across you. We came across each other recently, and it just seems like I cannot connect with people who don't have a deeper spiritual or intellectual pursuit.
Mhm.
Like regular people.
Oh, I went through that.
Huh?
Yeah, I went through that for a long time. But like now I can talk to people who don't, and I can see what I see about them. I can kind of see into them like I do as an empath. I can, but kind of keep the conversation, what would you call it, like shallow. I can do that now, but I used to not be able to. I'd rather not even talk to anybody before because I couldn't connect with them if they weren't on a deeper level. So it was rare. It was always very rare when I did find that one friend out of a million, who understood and who had, similar experiences as me.
Right.
Really,
Do you?
all humans, I think, have that potential. It's just that the whole world has been in some kind of slavery and oppressed. So people were like not allowed to tap into their possibilities. But
I
I think that's true.
I agree. The thing about the Earth is on the outer skirts of the Milky Way, the galaxy, and all the action the middle of all the action of our galaxy. We're out in the boondocks, and I feel in the universe, I mean in the galaxy, I don't think they can get. I think we're a primitive civilization. I think our planet is very primitive compared to others, compared to other worlds and other civilizations. And I think there's creatures in the universe. They can't get away with what they can get away with on other. They can like on this planet they can get away with a lot, but on other planets get away with it. And
But here's the thing, though: they're not supposed to, because this is a free will plane. It's just that they are very crafty.
right, people
Free will.
exactly,
And they got
exactly,
to trust them and agree to it by posing as something that they're not.
exactly. People through their agreements have agreed to so much different stuff, and the creatures, like I think some of the creatures on this planet, they're able to, all they have to do, gold makes the rules. If you can manipulate resources and manipulate banking, and you can manipulate people's perception of reality, then you can impede on their spiritual destiny. I think it's the creatures are involved. It's a mutation. They're getting something etherically and spiritually out of people, like the movie They Live.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Our emotions are food. That's one thing I
Right.
learned during like the hardest part of like the gang stalking thing phenomenon in my life, and a spiritual awakening, and everything I learned during that time. When the angels taught me, and I still call them angels, even though they're probably like Pleiadians or Arcturians or something, or a combination of both. What they taught me was that our negative emotions attract entities that feed on that type of food. That is a food for something. So, and it may be a parasitic being, and they can become attached to people. So they kind of try to create an environment that's going to produce their food. So they make you, very, very much in pain, in trauma. That pain and trauma creates their food. But if you want to attract angelic beings, you'll have to, do your healing. You have to emit a frequency of love from your heart, and that will attract them, because literally they eat that. Like, that's their food.
Right. Right.
I had to go through that change, because I was like, for real, I don't want these demons messing with me anymore. I became more and more aware of them, and I was under, like, attack all the time. Realizing that the gang stalkers themselves were just like a manifestation of those spirits. And once I realized that, I was like, oh, I've got to cut off their food supply. So, yeah.
I think they're do. I think they're. I think they're do. I think they're involved in sexual. I think a lot of people are involved in sexual. Because something, a coming together, a sexual type activity. I think people go into these demonic rituals, and they're having some sort of intercourse with these spiritual beings in their little rituals.
Mhm. Oh, and the beings can trick you into thinking you're sleeping, or not. Like, you'll be sleeping, or trick you into thinking you're dreaming, but you're actually, like, and in your dream you might think you're having sex with someone or a human or whatever, but it's actually an incubus or a succubus or whatever you'd want to call it, some kind of sex demon that feeds off of that energy. But see, they literally, like, some of them actually make things out of that energy. They make something that's productive for the universe. So there is, like, there's realms where there's like negative worlds or whatever that actually produce something that the universe would use. But it's not for me. It's definitely not for me. I'm a positive, polarized being. So when I realized that those sorts of things could happen, I really got control of myself, my dreams, and paid more attention to it. Started praying more, stuff like that, because I literally started getting really quick answers to my prayers. So, and I like prayed, like, back in 2010, I think it was, I saw a video about how pineal glands are calcified by fluoride, and that's when a lot of things started changing for me, because I was like, Lord, if this is true, just please decalcify my pineal gland. And then all of a sudden, I didn't know why I was having a bunch of anxiety and all these symptoms in my body, and all this stuff started happening. I started changing. But yeah, that was why, because my pineal gland began to decalcify so that it could eventually, so I could awaken. And I awakened, and it took till 2015 to have a full awakening. But yeah, I mean, and all of it, for me, all of it was through prayer. A lot of people might go through this experience, and it might not be their thing to pray, but that was my experience. It was like a close relationship with God, and eventually realizing I was talking to my higher self. I'm not saying that there's no source creator. I believe there's source creator, and everything we say is like a prayer to source creator. But when I got an answer, I found out later on that was my higher self that I thought was an angel. It was me. So, I mean, we're multidimensional beings. We have higher dimensional parts of us that know more and protect us and reveal things to us when we're ready. And we might think it's someone else, but it's us.
Right. Right.
Am I blowing your mind or confusing you?
No, I agree. I think a lot of going back to what we were talking about earlier, I think a lot of extraterrestrials from the inner part of the galaxy are on Earth. And I think they're watching people.
Oh, yeah.
You know, because...
They don't even have to be on Earth to watch us, but yeah, I know what you mean. I think they're definitely visiting.
They've been...
times where, like, a lot of people get healed all at once, they're probably there, you know?
Yeah, because I think that I think the species of humans that are on the planet now, I think there was extraterrestrial intervention to create humans. You know, I don't know if you've heard this before, but my perception of humans is the original prototype, like the Sasquatch, the Yeti, the Bigfoot, the abominable snowman, big monkey. And I think these different ET groups used their DNA to create humans. Hey, we're still recording. We did almost 40 minutes. Can I call you back in a little bit if you're still going to be out? Somebody's coming out to here right now, and I want them to hear what we're talking about.
Okay.
All right.